various classes in South Auckland. Yeah, she was also named amongst the New Zealand local heroes in 2012 by Kiwi Bank. So let's welcome Hindu. Thank you.
I was not sure about the numbers, so I just got 20 cents, so in case you want anything more. So I've given my contacts at the end of the thing so you can ask for it. And I've got a bit of a bad throat, sorry for that. And I usually speak a bit quickly. So if you don't understand it, just raise your hand. Okay? So as I have just 15 minutes, so I will not be bragging here and there. So I just will be focusing on what you need and what I need to say. So as we all know, like teaching English is a real challenge. Why? Because there are just 26 alphabets and 24 sounds. Somewhere E is very silent. Somewhere CH gives you the chair. Somewhere it is chemistry. So you really wonder, how do you teach them? Somewhere PUT is put. NUT is not. What do you do about it? So W and V have the same sounds. What do you do? How do you tell them these things? So there are many, many complications, we face. So I have divided my Indian learners into 3 groups. So I have, the yellow one is group A, and then I have this orange, that's group B, and then I've got group C. Now, group A, who are they? Who have never been to school, no schooling, they can't read and write in their own language either. So what is their nature? They're very shy, they're a bit particular, and they like to finish their task and then start on the next one. So if you are a quick teacher, you just say, okay, do this, and suddenly you say, okay, now stop this, let's move on to the other. They will not, because their focus is, I have to finish this, and then move on to the next one. And what are their needs? They need lots of vocabulary. Because remember, when we have children 2 years old, we don't teach them grammar first. We don't tell them this is present tense and past tense. We give them phrases and words. That's what they need. So you need to give them lots of vocabulary, and they also need a lot of visual learning. Because they're usually visual, they try to register, they need to connect the things. And then how can you help this? There is oral practice. More oral, revise, repeat, give them a lot of gap fills, matching, drills, use their work and events for lessons. Connect their names. If you're doing some story, so don't say like Fiona or Margaret or Julia, so you need to say your learner's name, so they link it, okay? And word search, that's the best way they can recognize the alphabets, either it's a lowercase or uppercase. So that was group A. Hope I'm not going too fast. Okay. All right, now I have this group B. Now, who are these people who have been to school for 6 to 8 years? That's it. So they have a little learning in their own language, and they pick a few things from here and there. What is their nature? They're always very enthusiastic. They're nervous because joining a class, they're always having the heartbeat tap, 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 tap. So they're always very conscious about the accent. So they may say, oh my God, if I say something, there'll be a bit of fun in the class or the teacher. So they're a bit nervous about that. And what is their need? Pronunciation. And differentiate between you and the Jew as a Jew. So usually we say thank you, but they will say thank you. So there is a different, there are particular few things, you have to make them practice. And consonant blends, like we say books, but they never say books, they'll say bookus. For example, it's milk, they'll never say milk, they'll say milk. So there are a few things you have to pick on, and you give them a lot of practice. That's very important. And how can you help them? Give them a lot of oral practice. Listening. Make them listen a lot, because they listen, they connect. And then repeat, make them read. And lots of modeling. Dictation, reading, use their names for the lesson for connection, and link to their day-to-day life. The phrases, everyday words, and frame questions. Because sometimes they may learn all these things, but they don't know how to frame a question. So that's again a problem. Because they may say, my name is Indu, but they wouldn't know how to ask you, like, what is your name? So this is very important, that you need to tell them how to create questions. So that was my group B, and now we come to the third group, that's C. Now, who are these people? They've been to school for more than 12 years. That means they've been to high school, or maybe, like year 12. Now, they are slightly tricky. So their nature, they're over-enthusiastic. So every time you ask a question, ta! Every time, ta! So they're always very enthusiastic. They're very dominating. So if they think they know the lesson, so very recently on Friday, I was teaching a group of Indian women at the Sikh temple. So I had 9 learners, and one of the ladies, she got what I was teaching. So every time I would say, I was about to ask you, said, she would tell the other person, that's what teacher is saying. So they become a bit dominating in the class. They would always lead in the class. So once they learn it, so they are the leaders, they are the group. And talk a lot about their family. So if you're friendly, they're over-friendly at times. They love correcting their peers because this is, in our culture, it's okay. I mean, I can correct, so it's all right for them. But for some people, it's not good, but it's good for them. They get bored easily. They are impatient. So the group C is a bit tricky. So what are their needs? You need to teach them, be patient, give turn to others, and there should be a teamwork, and pay attention, because they may not listen to the whole of the question. They just listen, what is? And then say, yeah, Hindu. So they will never listen to the end part. So you have to tell them, be patient for the class. And then what are the activities? Activities always engage these minds. If you don't, you'll have a lot of problem in your class. Pair them with low learners. They love to be leaders. They like to teach others. So you pair them, and then you give, okay? And lots of reading and writing worksheets. Keep them busy. Give them responsibilities, okay? You help them to do this task, so they are happy to lead in the class. Lots of role plays, realistic learning, rearrange sentences, frame questions. And these kind of learners would love to go out, like, for example, you want to do some banking. So if you take them out, it'll be really nice. They learn very quickly. And I would say Indians have quite sharp minds. Please, excuse me. Okay. Kind of. And now what are the grammar errors, usually? Because the problem is, Alright, thank you. Now, as far as the English is concerned, because usually there are a lot of problems, in translating, because we usually translate from our language to English. Now, that's a bit tricky in our Indian grammar, because in India, the grammar is subject plus object plus the verb. Like, if I have to say, Joe, now what I'm going to say is, Joe, car drives. Because that's in my language how I put the object at the center and verb at the end. Whereas in English, it goes subject plus verb plus object. That's Joe drives car. Yep. So this is very tricky. So you need to tell them, where exactly the verb goes. So this is a bit tricky for them. So you have to make them practice over and over again, because they think in their language and then they translate. So they will never get the verb right in the first place. And then you can, tell them like, okay, this is how you have to say, because this is how they learn in our language when they translate. Sorry, I've just done upside down all of these things. After dancing, I think it happens. And another thing is, like the pronouns in English. In English, we have he and she pronouns, but in our Indian language, we have just the sound. Like, we have the pronouns just the same. I'm just writing in my language, and I have to tell you what exactly I'm talking. For example, for a lady, I'm writing what? Okay. I'll just explain in a minute. Now, these are the pronouns, were. So that is for he and she common. But what makes it different, when I put this E sound here, that goes for a female. And when I put this R sound, that goes for a man. So we distinguish from here. So are we talking to a man or a woman? Okay, so it is, the word is the same. That's like he and she. So we don't have any he and she. We just have the sound at the end. That is E for the females and R for the males. For example, if I have to say for a male, in my language, I'm saying wah, jata, ja raha hai. Raha, R is. And the rahi is the E. So the E sound. So that is the thing. So that's what pronounce can be a bit tricky. That's very important. And another thing is, I met many of the tutors who introduce past tense just in the few beginning lessons, which is very, very tricky. As it is, it's tricky for us, we're all educated. So, and they're just the learners, beginners, you know. So you never introduce past tense right in the first class. Everything will be worded up. So, and because we have regular and irregular, there's so much of confusion. Somewhere T, somewhere D, somewhere ED. So there's so many tricky things. It's easy for us, we're educated. But imagine if you're learning any other language. Suppose you were learning Hindi. How difficult it would have been for you too. So never start the past tense in the beginning. That's my little request. And in case you introduce, so go slow, go easy. Start on with ED and then take them to the other one. Because we think, oh, I can read and write. Why can't they? But that's what we are teachers. We are teaching them. So we have to teach, we have to change a bit of our ideas if you're teaching to the beginners. Now, few tips for teaching, that is, involve the learners in listening and speaking. It's very important. Give them a lot of vocabulary, word search sheets, play lots of games. And then give them a lot of appreciation. Be gentle, recycle, reuse resources. Give them a lot of practice in all the skills. It's reading, writing, everything, listening. Reflect on learning from time to time. Take a note when they came to the class. Or maybe after 2-3 weeks, you can reflect back. So that's really good. They understand, you know, where we started and where we are. That's really good. Link your lessons. If today you're going, teaching them time, and tomorrow you take up colors, third day you take something else, then they will learn. So you need to link your lessons at least 3 or 4 days, you know, because they are learners. Remember that. Have a chart in your class with common words on the wall. Now, right now, I just give you a bit of example. Right now, I have just very few Indians in my class. I've got more of Vietnamese, Cambodians, and Chinese. So what I do, I'll just pass on this to you. I've got all my classroom commands written in their language. This is in Burmese, this is in Thai, this is Kurdish, this is Chinese. So what I do all these things and I give them one photocopy. So some can read and write in their own language, some who can't, they get help from their, you know, like somebody at home, you know. So they're always in my classroom, so I put them and I give them. So every day I'm repeating these things. So they know what is it who asking. And then I've got another thing is, I've got these everyday words. I've got this in Vietnamese, I've got this in Cambodian, Chinese, Indian, and Punjabi. So they're all on my wall. So every time I say, what is this? Point out there. So this really helps me. And I've got another good chart in my class. That is the W questions. We all have problems because they never understand. Every day you have to say, what? When? So what I do, I've got a long pointer, I've got a big board, big chart. So every time it has 4 languages. So what is in English, and then I've got Vietnamese, Cambodian, Chinese, Indian, Punjabi, Gujarati. So it's all, you know, planted there. So I say what, and then I point it, no, read it. So that's really worked very well in my class because it's really doing very, very well. And what you shouldn't do with Indian students, do not make fun of the pronunciation and make faces. They really get upset. They get nervous, and sometimes they never come to the class because they can't come and tell you that you insulted me in a way. So they never come. So they're very sensitive in nature. If you don't like their food or gifts, explain them in a gentle way. Refuse politely. Don't say, oh, again, don't do that, because they you've really heard, because in our culture, the guru, the teacher is really held high here. They really respect their teachers. Maybe if they go overseas, they may bring something for you. Maybe you don't like it. Or you can say, okay, you can take it and you can pass it on further, but be nice to them. And do not correct them while they're expressing. Make a note of it, let them finish, and then together it can be an activity. You can tell them, like, look, this is where you were wrong, and that's how the teaching goes. That's it. I finished in time.
Well done. Thank you very much. I know you're all dying to ask us some questions, but we'll have questions at the end. Thank you for your very good practical advice. Okay.